So it's been a few days. Has been. Yep. So I should mention, first of all, I wanted to stream yesterday, but the reason why I didn't wasn't because of the boycott thing that people were doing. It's just because of the fact that, um, as much as I'd like to stream, or I would have liked to yesterday, it was just simply due to the fact that I didn't want to send people the wrong message if they saw me streaming. They'd probably think, why is that guy streaming when people are boycotting? Anyway, so first things first, to get the, or to address the elephant in the room, I had mentioned, 2 nights before, I think, or a few days ago, I don't remember, that, we were likely going to be getting an announcement from Sony. And sure enough, was look what's coming next Thursday. You're invited. PlayStation Showcase broadcast next Thursday. Tune in to see what's next for PS5. You have no idea how happy I am to hear this. Now, granted, I don't even know what's going to be shown. For one, this thing is, as it says down here, 40 minutes long. About 40 minutes. It says here, you've been awfully patient, and we thank you for that. And now we're looking forward to showing you what we've been working on. I can hardly wait. Tune in next Thursday, September 9th. Also happens to be the 22nd anniversary of the Sega Dreamcast. Yeah, 22nd. Because 2019 was the 20th anniversary. Anyway, at 1 p.m. PT. So that, for me, since I live in Central Standard Time, because I'm a Texan, um, that'd be 3 p.m. To get this out of the way, yes, I am going to be doing live coverage of this, as well as what's going to be happening afterwards. It's going to be very interesting. Says here, for a look into the future of PlayStation 5. The showcase will weigh in at around 40 minutes long and will include updates from PlayStation studios and some of the industry's most imaginative developers for games releasing this holiday and beyond. And stick around after the presentation to get more updates from some of the studio teams featured in the showcase. Um, yeah. One thing to note, PlayStation's next gen of VR won't make an appearance this time, but there will still be plenty of great PS5 games from developers big and small. We hope you can join us. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna join. By the way, Horizon Forbidden West is now up for pre-order. There's been a little bit of controversy because of how they're handling it. Like certain versions of the game won't be, cross-gen. It's a little confusing, but whatever. Anyway, looky here. This is why I always hide the chats. Same thing here. But here's the thing. I'd like to discuss the very, very many things that I am expecting and am hoping for. First and foremost, I do expect Horizon Forbidden West to be shown. Maybe just like a small gameplay glimpse of another area in the game because they already showed us like one gameplay demonstration. Maybe they could show a snippet of gameplay in another location in the game. I do absolutely expect God of War Ragnarok to be there. Uh, and of course, GTA 5 expanded and enhanced because Rockstar said that at some point they are going to be showing off what it looks like. And given their track record with their partnership with Sony, even though Sony doesn't own Rockstar, it's just that they have a partnership together. I would say that this event is where we're finally going to see that thing happen. But then we have the hope that I have. And I've talked about this game numerous times. Very, very countless times. Sorry for the voice cracks, my throat's a little eh. Guess I'm still kind of recovering from the sinus thing. I mean, I feel fine. I sound fine. It's just you'll probably hear me coughing or clearing my throat. I'm not sick. It's just something in my throat. Like there. Um, but that game that I mentioned is, of course, PlayStation Home. Why the fuck did I do that? As you know, PlayStation Home was made by the one, the only London studio. And here's the thing. It says here in the Wikipedia that they did make PlayStation Home. Alright? And of course, they also made things like VR stuff. But, what about their next project? Their, next big game? Well, thing about it is, one of the studio co-heads had mentioned that their next big game at London Studio is going to have huge potential. Now, here's the thing. Now, here's something to keep in mind. I did call PlayStation Home a game. That's because at first I didn't want to call it that because I wasn't sure it was actually called that. But I'm about to show footage that will once and for all confirm that suspicion is incorrect and that Home is, in fact, a video game. You don't buy it, per se, but you played it, so it therefore is a video game. And that little bit of footage is courtesy of Nagato's Revenge on YouTube. I already watched the video a little while ago. But, oh, by the way, I'm getting this game tomorrow because of the digital deluxe edition. I decided to go ahead and pre-order today. It'll be ready by 8 in the morning, so that's good. Um, so ew. Um, trying to show it. Um, where is it? It's not there. Um, there it is. All right. So, all right. So, I'm gonna pause at a very specific moment, not right here, and it's coming up in a second. Just give it a few. It's after this loading screen, and here's the confirmation. So, home itself was technically termed a service, but here it's been called a game. You know what that means, right? That means technically home was a game as a service. Not along the lines of Fortnite or Apex Legends, but it was technically a game as a service, as in, it was a game, but it was used as a service to provide content and interactivity to users. Make sense? So, what does that have to do with, yeah, with these fine people? Because now that we have that confirmation, because of the trademark for Soho Engine and the trademark for PlayStation Home being updated and renewed and all that stuff, we can now take a look at some evidence that I've been looking at. I've shown it before numerous times on stream, but it's all part of connecting the dots. So now that we know that Home was in fact a game, literally a game. Like, you wouldn't go into a store and buy it, but it was a game. Here it is. Network physics. Physics that are programmed to act a certain way. For example, say you have a beach ball and you could bump into it and it behaves just like a real beach ball. Or say you have a piece of furniture in your personal space in PlayStation Home. It would react a certain way if you were editing the actual space, like the actual furniture, and you lift it up a little bit and then drop it, it'll bounce a tiny bit, like boom boom. But it could also be pushed around. Animation systems is obviously referring to how avatars are animated and all that stuff, and a lot of other animation things. Game logic. You might think, oh, game logic, you mean like, oh, this person shot this guy, but instead of that guy dying, he survives even though he was shot in the chest. No, what I mean by game logic is how a game or something in a game is programmed. Um, so for example, we have Snap Map in Doom 2016 and how people could set up the game to do certain things like um to put this into better context instead of Doom Snap Map, because I don't even remember how the fuck that worked. Um okay. Say you're playing a minigame in PlayStation Home or just doing something in PlayStation Home, and there's a button prompt that tells you to interact with something, or it shows a button that you can press to interact with something. By pressing that button, you will cause something to happen. Like, for example, an object will move, or say for example, you're right next to a store in PlayStation Home. By pressing that button, it'll bring up the store and allow you to browse. That's what I mean by game logic is the uh, the way the game ticks, basically. Matchmaking is related to when there is a multiplayer based minigame in PlayStation Home and you can be queued up for a minigame. Session management is related to public spaces and private spaces and the general monitoring of it to make sure that everything is a-okay. Among I'm not a smoker, by the way. It's just my throat's a little dry, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sick. The among others thing could just be, things. Um, External companies and contractors. This could be, uh, this could be third-party partners or, just external developers who are looking to make content for PlayStation Home, stuff like that. But if you thought I was done with that, let's take a ride into the Wayback Machine, partner. Because I am nowhere near done. So we go to the same website, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to 2020. Almost said 2021. We will get to 2021, but first we're gonna browse into 2020. November 2nd. Yeah. So that was just before the PS5, because the PS5 would come out the next week. At least for us in the States, it would come out a week later for other people. But here's the thing. Here's the job listings. Graphics programmer. It's not there anymore. If you look, we got 3D character artist, online programmer, technical artist, VFX artist, game AI programmer, and pipeline programmer. But then we have this one. Online programmer. Now this is virtually unchanged all throughout the time frame between at this time and right now. And I'm talking about this page. As you can see, there's nothing that is different at all. Oh, I don't know what I was doing. Um, right. So, when we go into this year, January 13th, what we got? Animation programmer. That is not there anymore because they already had that filled in throughout the year. So we still have this. That's miscellaneous. So that's anything extra that they might have open for someone like helping with bugs and stuff. I mean, like system bugs, not actual bugs. Principal. I should not try to talk at that high pitch. Anyway, principal online gameplay designer. Please note, later down the line this year, this would be renamed to multiplayer gameplay designer, but then it would disappear outright in July. Before I left for my trip to Colorado. Senior gameplay designer. Here it is. System design. What they mean by system design is like the core functionality of what you can do with PlayStation Home. Networked gameplay is basically, well, I'll show you. Connecting with others. AI is related to, say you're playing a minigame that would normally be multiplayer, but you just want to play alone and you want to have AI to give yourself a challenge. That's what they mean. UI is, of course, the user interface. So, for example, in PlayStation Home, when you're exploring normally, there wouldn't be anything that would pop up unless you're right next to something you can interact with. Then at the bottom of the screen, there would be a button prompt that says, press X, and it would show what you're about to do. And then you can press X again to confirm that you're about to do that, or you can press circle to back out of that. And looky here for our next big title. And wouldn't you know it, yeah. And this one is new-ish. It's been around for a few months. Also, we can get rid of this. But, yeah. Principal online gameplay design. Um, Now here's the thing. It says this right now, but as we go further into the year, it hasn't really changed much. But going further, oh yeah, things just got interesting. Now, it's at this point in time in April this year, whenever they changed up the description heavily to sort of talk about what they're trying to go for here. For one, it does say explicitly that this is a PS5 only project. There's no mention of VR except for the innovations they've done in gaming. And truth be told, PlayStation Home was very innovative. How? Well, as far as I'm aware, there's been no other gaming company, such as Xbox or Nintendo, that has made a gaming based virtual world. I mean, I know there's stuff like Roblox, but I'm talking about like on a console. And I'm okay, the thing about Roblox is that it's made by a community. Like the community makes the games, otherwise known as experiences. PlayStation Home, um, that's different. It's not like community made, it's made by partners with Sony or people who approach them and say, hey, we have a proposition of making content like this, having a new public space, having all this stuff. That's innovative. And when you consider the fact that PlayStation Home had a lot of brand recognition and a lot of advertising for um, things other than gaming. For example, we have Red Bull, we have Dr. Pepper 10, we have uh, Adidas, you have car brands, which is awesome. And of course, we got Sony, which that doesn't really count because it's Sony's product anyway that we're talking about. PlayStation Home was made by Sony. But yeah. And here's the thing. This whole collaborate with mission, narrative, and technical design. You might be thinking, oh, wait, this isn't going to be PlayStation Home, is it? Well, here's the thing. There was a game. I messed up horribly there. There's a video that I saw recently about what they did for PlayStation Home in 2011. Late 2011 actually. What they did was they did a full revamp of it. You know, having brand new things. Most notably was the quest system. How I don't know why I said how. I guess it's just been a long day. Um, so you're probably wondering, what on earth are you talking about? What quest system? What are you playing an RPG game all of a sudden? No. Basically, what quests were, or otherwise known as activities, quests were a. It's basically like a mission that you do. Like, for example, go to this public space and go dancing somewhere or something like that. But the guy who was talking about it, Jack Buser, who has since moved on to Google after PlayStation Home closed in 2015. During this video, he had mentioned that some quests would actually have their own narrative to it. Kind of like. And so. Okay. So, as an example to this, say you're playing PlayStation Home, and I'm talking about a theoretical next gen version on PS5, by the way. What'll happen is you'll check the quest board, and it'll have a list of quests that you can do that are in a list. Um, and what can happen for this new quest system is they can have uh regular quests, and then they can have narrative quests. Now, PlayStation Home itself didn't have a story. It's not like, oh, you're a hero in a lone world or something. But these narrative quests are more like, do this, then go here and do this. So, putting that into perspective, say there's a tab that you could scroll to for a narrative quest, and at first it tells you go to the hub and check one of the plants in the hangout area. Then what'll happen is um, you might notice that one of the plants are glowing. And I'm talking about like an actual plant, not like something else. Um, but like you'll notice that one of the plants are glowing to give you a hint as to where it is. But after you interact with it, then that first part of the quest is complete. Then you'll go back to the quest board and it says that now you'll have to go to say Pier Park and check by a boat, and you'll of course go there and then check the boat, and you'll have that part done. Then you'll go back to the quest board, and then it'll say and by the way, this next thing is just a it's a neat idea that I came up with recently for the new version of PlayStation Home, should we actually get it. But this idea is called the PlayStation Cruise. And what it is it's basically a massive public space that would allow you to socialize with players, and it would have different areas you can go to, or levels, I guess. And what would happen is um this quest would tell you to go here, and then the rest of the quest you would have to do on that cruise ship. So the third part of the quest is you must go to the dining hall and prepare a specific dish. And it'll give you vague hints as to what that dish is. Like, and I'll talk more about how the dining hall works in the PlayStation cruise ship. Um, but basically, how this cryptic hint will work is, um, it'll it'll cryptically say what you have to put on a plate, and then once you're done with that, you have to bring it to a specific spot where a NPC would be. So, for example, a spoonful of peas with 2 spoonfuls of mashed potatoes with gravy, and then a slice of ham and 2 wings of chicken. Once you've prepared this delicious meal, bring it over to the man with the monocle, or something like that. And then you'll do that, and I should probably mention that you don't have to keep going back to the quest board. Um, what I come on, why? It comes with that warning, guys, or friend. um, what I would do for this new quest system is it should give you a notification when you've done a quest, and if it's a narrative quest and you have multiple parts, it could tell you you've done this quest, and then it'll show you a button prompt that you have to press during a certain amount of time. Or you could just go to the pause menu for PlayStation Home and go to the quest tab and see what to do next. But say you just finished that bring a meal to this person thing. Then it'll tell you drive a round of go-karts. Now for that, you wouldn't have to race against anybody or even against AI. You could just do it yourself. But what'll happen is, since you'll be doing a quest that you accepted, it'll have you drive through specific rings throughout the go-kart track. And if you've done that, um, then it'll have you do one last quest, which is to meet the cruise ship's captain, and it'll then, or I mean, then you'll talk to him, and then he'll say, "You've done quite well to get this far. You deserve an award. Go back to the quest board and get your special goodies," or something along those lines. Now, going back to the PlayStation cruise ship, um, so the various levels of the ship that you can go to. And by levels, I mean like the areas you can go to. There's the bottom part, which is the engine room. Um, the part directly above that is the it's the bottom suite rooms. Then the thing above that is where the main suites are for people to stay in. Um, and then we have the upper deck for the suites. By suites, I'm talking about like hotel suites, not suites as in, oh, that's a sweet piece of candy. Um, but then we have the upper part of the ship, which starts with the shopping center, which is directly above the upper deck suites. So the shopping area is where you'll be able to buy items with, and this is a theoretical virtual currency that I thought up based on someone's concept on a Dreams game that I played on Dreams recently, and they had a virtual currency for their proof of concept for a Dreams PlayStation Home, where they had a virtual currency called PlayStation Cash. So, because of that, in order to pay reference to that, I'm going to call this virtual currency PlayStation Cash because it just seems very, very realistic. But this currency would replace the need for microtransactions. Of course, this is purely up to London studio if they want to do away with microtransactions in favor of a virtual currency that can be earned just simply by gameplay. Um, but PlayStation Cash can be used to purchase items, and you can buy items in the shopping center, and it'll have different stores like Threads where you can get clothing. Um, you can have a haircut style which I'd like to call clips, like clips with a Z at the end to make it have that 90s edge. Um, Home estates, which is where you could buy new personal spaces. Um, just stores. Um, then the area directly above that is the it's actually a 3-in-1, this next one. You got the dining hall, which is at the back, the entertainment section, which is where you could play basketball or tennis or something like that with friends or with other people. And then the northernmost part of this would be the casino area, which is where you can gamble your heart out and stuff. Of course, unless your country does not allow that, in which case it will be restricted. You can just explore it. But of course, if there's any quests that you have to do that require you to go there, you can still do it. But none of those would require gambling, because that would be luck based, and yeah. Um, but then we have the area directly above that, which is the activity zone, which is where you'll have the go karts, the bumper cars. You could have a arcade area. Um, and there could also be archery and stuff. And it would also be one of the locations where the cruise line monorail is, where you can go to a specific train station looking thing, and it'll have a uh, not a monorail, but it's basically like those cable cars that you would see, but it's not an actual cable. It's like on a rail, and it goes around the ship and goes to different sections. That's what I mean. Um, but then we have the top area of the cruise ship, which is a 2-in-1 place. there is the captain's quarters, which is the northern part of this area. And then directly behind that is the tourist vista, which is where people can hang out and look out at the sea. And the cool thing about this cruise ship is if it's your first time going to this cruise ship, you'll be given a complimentary cruise ship suite. And what's really cool about it is the cruise ship itself will have its own um, leveling up system, sort of like you could do things around the ship like helping clean up or playing mini games or gambling in the casino if you're able to in your country. Of course, if not, you could still do the other things. But by doing those things, you'll not only get PlayStation Cash for personal use, but on the cruise ship, you could level up your playtime over there, basically. Like your experience over there on the cruise ship. And as you level up more and more, whenever you get to certain levels, you'll get specific perks, items, and stuff. So you could get maybe a discount on a clothing item, or maybe an actual clothing item. Or when you get to a high enough level, you could rank up to a better cruise ship suite. And whenever you reach a high enough level, you could get the VIP suite. You know, stuff like that. That's basically my concept for the cruise ship. I know it's a little confusing, but it's my basic gist. It's not perfect by any means, but it's as best as I could think. But I do hope that you understand what I'm getting at. Alright, so this right here is basically what London Studio's website looked like a few days before I left for Colorado. So we have 3D character artist, online programmer, technical artist, and VFX artist. Um, thing is, I think by the time I left for Colorado, this was gone, or it was whenever I came back home, or I think it was after I came back. I don't know. I'll get my phone and check. Oh, I feel old. Ugh. My back hurts. Um, all right. Um, um, hmm. Hmm. I'm trying to see when exactly that went away. Because I think it was whenever I came back home from Colorado. The graphics programmer is gone, obviously. So we just have 3D character artist, which um that can be for anything, but it could also be for the big game they're working on. Online programmer. And the thing is, online programmer, that's been consistent with the description like the entire time. Because you could see here and then here, all that. And then, yeah, so these 4 job listings are still here to this very day. This left sometime whenever I was gone in Colorado. So did this. Um, and what's really funny is briefly last week, I think it was Wednesday when I noticed this. This job listing this job listing disappeared. But then it came back like a day or two after. So what I think happened is either A, they hired someone, found out they weren't really qualified for that job position and then put it back on the website, or B, what they could have done is they were waiting to see if anyone else would be hired for it just in case they needed surplus to make sure that they had plenty of people to work on it. And the reason why they took it off is because they thought that at that time we were about to get the PlayStation event. And since we're having it next week, yeah. Anyway, so graphics programmer. This is obviously for the game engine. Oh. Um, but right now, as it stands, the job listings we currently have on here, excluding the open application, are 3D character artist, lead online programmer, technical artist, VFX artist, game AI programmer, and pipeline programmer. Yeah, I think we're in for a treat. Now, don't quote me on this, because this may not even be home. But everything is indicating this. Right? Everything that I've seen, everything that I've been able to piece together from me now knowing that PlayStation Home really was a game, but it was called a service. It's the whole game as a service. It it makes sense. But then we have EYPO and their involvement. I'm not saying this like, oh, they were in it. They were in it together. Oh, they poisoned me. Ugh. That or I need water. Um, but let me just show you the evidence that me and many other people have been able to piece together, shall we? So we have PlayStation Home. which the last time it was ever updated was the near end of July, and that was because of this. Article 195 for EUTMR. Information to proprietors of earlier trademark registrations or applications. But then we have this. This is where it gets interesting. Because looking at this and then looking at this, I just now realized something. Change of a representative in the office. Kind of correlates right here. It says 2. And what I think happened is it's because of the fact that it's Tara Saunders and Stuart White. Because you'll notice here, it's 2 of these. Exactly identical. Same date, same filing number, same subject. And then if you go to the actual London Studio website, go to the news feed, and then you check out the news about them becoming the studio co-heads, it's obvious. It's because it was in negotiations and then it actually went through, and now they are actually studio co-heads. And so what the European Union is doing is they're informing them of the earlier trademark registrations and stuff, making sure that they're okay with that and all that. Which, of course, they are. But then we have the other thing on the EU IPO. Soho Engine. Same people. And I should say, goods and services. Now, a lot of this stuff is just related to what the actual engine is, but some of it also relates directly to what it is able to do. And some of that stuff is directly related to home, such as live performances, competitions and stuff, internet games non-downloadable, which is related to the mini games that you could play in PlayStation Home, interactive entertainment services, all that stuff, yada yada yada. Yeah. I think I know what we're getting at, right? Now, here's the other thing. So, this PlayStation showcase that we're getting next Thursday is going to be primarily talking about games that are coming out in the holidays and beyond. But what if there are some exceptions? Some surprises, if you will. Starting to make sense, doesn't it? Anyway, yeah. Um, there was something else I wanted to do tonight, but I'm just super tired. It's been a long day. I'm just tired, worn out, all that jazz. Except for one thing. All this evidence that I've been talking about, PlayStation Home coming back. There was one thing that I forgot to show, and I've shown it before, but I'll happily show it again. And this really does piece together all this evidence that Home is coming back, from the job listings to, the trademark stuff, all the things, the whole, all this stuff. Well, not all of it, just some of it. Then we have this. Remember what I said about those two updates on the EUIPO, where on a PlayStation Home, it showed two of the changes of the representative in the office. That's them. They were talking about the owners of the studio, like the people running it, and that is Tara Saunders and Stuart White. Now, why is that so important? And what do all these job listings and all this stuff have anything to do with PlayStation Home? There's a few things to note. For one, I want you to take a look right here. Our next project has huge potential, and we want to leverage that to the max by empowering the team to thrive and deliver a top quality game. Typically, when you think of a game that is online, of course it would have online, of course an online title would have huge potential. But what if the reason why she said that wasn't just because it was going to be an online only game, but also because it would bring people back to it? I have a personal theory about this PlayStation Home coming back, and that has something to do with something similar that Rockstar has done with GTA Online, and how whenever GTA Online has come over to a new platform, people will get returning player benefits such as free vehicles and stuff. Huge potential. That would mean that, for one, a lot of people would be playing it and staying online. But that would also bring a whole lot of older players who originally played this old version of Home back to play this new one, and they might get additional benefits for being said returning players like me. But there's something else I should mention. Now that I know that PlayStation Home was a game, you're probably thinking, well, wait a minute. If you're so sure, check on the website. It's not there. Now, one could argue that it's because PlayStation Home was a beta, and because it was a beta, it was never fully released, and even to this day, they're still working as hard as they can to make sure that by the time it's fully ready for the public on the PS5, it would be a top-notch game with huge potential, just like Tara said. But here's something to note. What if the other reason why it's not on this list of games that they've made is directly tied to the Join Us tab on the list of job listings? If you really think about it, it makes sense. Because I want you to think about this. I really, really want you to think about something real quick. Don't you think that if they had PlayStation Home listed as one of the games that they worked on, and then you go to the job listings and then you see jobs that would, be subtly hinting at the fact that Home is coming back, then people wouldn't be surprised. Then people will be like, oh, that's what they're working on. Well, that's cool. I'm happy to see it again. No, they want to surprise people. Because again, if they have Home listed on this list, and I can look all up and down this list, nothing. No mention of Home. Not even in the job listings. Not even in the descriptions for the job listings. And it makes perfect sense why they wouldn't mention it. It's because if people saw anything about PlayStation Home in these job listings, and these job listings happen to be for Home without, like, basically what I'm saying is, if a game company is planning on bringing back a game, and they have that same game listed as one of the games that they worked on, and then they have job listings that are related to said game, then people would immediately be able to tie two and two together. But by leaving that game off the list of games and still having those job listings that, although they don't mention home at all, the job listings kind of hint at it with what they're supposed to be for, like in terms of what you're doing. That would leave people scratching their heads thinking about it. And people who really, really knew PlayStation Home, like me, and countless other people, they'd be able to piece it together one by one and see all this evidence that PlayStation Home is coming back. Hell, even here, um they don't even mention it at all. They mention the things they've done, all that stuff. But here's the thing. There is no mention of having to use peripherals with a PS5 for that multiplayer gameplay designer. It was specifically just talking about the PS5 itself. They were just talking about that guy. That big old white and black box that looks more like an art sculpture. So, anyway, that's just my theory about one of the things I can expect from the PlayStation showcase next week. Another thing that I can kind of expect is, of course, um, indie games and stuff. But I suppose we'll find out all that there is to see and know about uh by the time next Thursday rolls around. But until then, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you did, then follow me if you'd like. I will be uploading this to YouTube tomorrow. The title will be different, but it'll still be the same thing. But in any case, good night. See you later, and thanks for stopping by.